tonight is dealing with the Thunder Ridge and outside of the city water. I know there were some questions that were sent to Annette and addressed in an email. I guess at this point, you know, what the focus that we're taking is, this is forward thinking, not backwards thinking. So we're thinking about how do we build a fund so that there is monies available should something happen to the system in the Thunder Ridge area, because we're gonna have to take care of that somehow. And that's gonna come from whatever the 50% or any other number that we come to in the future. So I just want to make sure we kind of focus on that. You know, we've been over a lot of this stuff. We've been over the well, the tower, you know, that they're not viable options for our system. So I guess I wanted to get that said at the beginning. So I'll leave it at that. And then do you guys have some questions that you'd like to start with?
Yeah, I think, I guess I'll start, but I get that that's in the past.
Right.
None of us were there, so it's a hard, I don't think Dean was around back then when that all happened, but.
When the dollar amount was established, when the percentage was established, I was not.
Well, when the well transferred and then the water main got put in.
No, I was not.
Okay, regardless. So yeah, it sucks for us that we don't get credit for it. But I guess we're all moving forward.
Right.
Yeah, so some of the questions we have are related to the cost. And when, you know, we were emailed the spreadsheet of costs that are associated with the sanitary sewer, the water, pump station and all that. You know, when you look at it, there's a lot of arbitrary numbers in here. There's a lot of just allocating 10% to this, allocating 52% to this. And, you know, there was a math error in it, and I get that's corrected now. So the cost, I think, went from $1,749,000 down to $1,458,000 based on that adjustment alone. There's two things in here. One's the Cox Springs Road backup generator and booster station, which they're allocating 100% to Thunder Ridge. I don't quite understand that. That helps out more than just Thunder Ridge. And then they allocated 52% for the booster station, wastewater collection system and SCADA system. Which, once again, I don't know why they're allocating all that. So first part, I think that cost is in question. Like it's to me, it's an arbitrary number.
Okay.
The second big thing to me when I look at this is in the spreadsheet, it says that they're giving Thunder Ridge a credit for $10,000 a year for what we paid to pay for this infrastructure. When my bill alone averages between $190 to $215 a month. Okay, so granted, I have a house of 5. There's people that have houses of 2. So mine, you know, might be on the higher edge. So I looked at it and I said, okay, if their average bill is $175 a month, which I think that's fair. If you look at, we pay 150% or we pay 50% over what a citizen pays in the city of Augusta. So if you do that math, that's about $58.33 a month that we're paying extra. We have 143 paying households. So if you take 58.33 times 143, that's $8,341 per month. Times it by 12 months would be $100,000 a year that our Thunder Ridge is paying in additional to what the what city residents would be paying. But we're getting credit for $10,000. So it just seems light. And if you look at that, I mean, $1.4 million would have been paid off in 14 and a half years. And in the notes, it talks about that they want a 20-year payback. But to me, the 150% we've been paying has been enough. So that, I guess I'm confused on just getting credit for $10,000 versus the 100,000. And I would agree, you know, you go back. The wastewater was back in 2004. The water, I think, started in 2015, say,
I think that's about right, yeah.
right? So back in 2004, they weren't paying those kind of rates. I get that. But going forward, you're gonna get $100,000 a year extra based on the 150%.
So if we look at that number and we say that paid off in 14 years from whichever, I mean, from 2004 or 2015, you know, we're looking at it'll be paid off in 2029. Worst case, if we pick the later of the dates, right?
Well, we would, if you pick the later of the dates, yeah.
I'm just saying, worst case, we're about 5 years from worst case with those numbers that were paid off, right?
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
mean, we're paying back in 2004,
Yeah, no,
right?
I understand that.
Okay.
But you, again, those numbers aren't the same. I don't know how many houses there were in 2004, you know, and so, and I'm not gonna, you know, I don't want to get into the weeds, so to speak, on, you know, what the numbers are. And I'll just say this is my opinion. It's not a city opinion, it's not anything else. At this juncture, using those numbers, we can say, let's just say that is paid off. Okay, so now we're back to what do we want going forward? What do we need in the fund going forward? Not, you know, I guess I don't want to keep looking at the numbers, but I'll ask you, Annette, I know you've shared it's the 10,000 versus 100. That's a huge difference.
It is.
And you know why that would be?
Those are the numbers that were populated
Okay.
back. I'm not gonna point fingers at
No.
anything, but just moving forward, we did crunch. Found out that was probably more along the lines of 730,000
Rooted to.
that has been collected over the years on the account. So even if you look at the 1.7 that we've invested and you subtract that 700,000 off of there,
1.4.
1.4, 1.7, it still leaves us a balance of $750,000.
Okay.
Hey, Mayor, this is John Kraft.
John, go ahead.
So my question is, and I know we are struggling, or we can only go back like 7 years to find out how many people we billed to the homeowners association. Do you guys have a record of how many homes were in Thunder Ridge for the past 10, 15 years, that we can take this calculation out to where it needs to be? Because right now, you know, I was doing some calculations today based off of $50 per home being the quote unquote extra. And I think I shared that with Annette, and I shared it with Brian and the mayor, which was coming in at about $81,000 a year. We know that we haven't had 136 or 143 homes there the whole time, but if we could find out how many homes we had at the start of this, we can figure out real close to where we're at. And I think, though, to the mayor's point, we have to make a decision. Are we taking a look at this 1.4 or 1.7, whatever, and saying, okay, that's behind us. Now, are we going to take a look at how quickly do we need to build a fund up in case something goes haywire on us? And if we're at that point, that's what we need to decide. Is it $81,000 a year? Is that going to fill the bank quick enough for us? Or if we go to the 200%, now we're looking at, you know, $162,000 a year to fill that bank up. So I think we got to decide, are we still talking about the 1.4, or are we talking about moving forward and how quickly we want to fill this bank up?
You and John, you know, and John had shared that number with me. So when you said that number, that made sense.
Yeah, and so Glenn's been with the association for quite a long time, and I would have to get, you would know best on, he collected.
I'd have to go back and see how many residents we had.
But I would have
in
to
those
guess,
years.
in the last 10 years, we've had 120 or more.
Yes, and that definitely in the last 10 years, 120 to 125,
Okay,
for sure.
So
Now it's
I just did
140.
some double checking because we just literally read 136 meters on Monday.
Okay.
There's about 5 residents that have 2 meters because they have an irrigation. So we were using the 131 figure as the number of meters. So what I did some calculations for that today, and we can certainly go back. I don't know, I can check with the software company. I don't know how to go back to pull records from 15 years ago, other than I know that we have 8 years worth of records in boxes. We can pull out billing registers. That's not gonna take into account the increase in rates each year that we've had, so we'd have to do a lot of number crunching because we've increased rates by 2%. Also, this year, a part of that or that $50 or $58 is your garbage. So we started at the beginning of this fiscal year charging you 1.5% of the garbage fee because now we have opened up the compost pile to everyone. So that's also kind of included in that number. So tit for tat, it's not gonna like make a huge difference, but it's not even quite 81,000 if you really think,
yeah,
that
and
way.
and I think, and I'll just, I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but, the future is what my concern is right now. We can't go back and fix, what was done, 15, 18, 20 years ago. So to John's point, we need to come up with what is the number we feel we need to have going forward in a fund set aside just for TRE.
And when does that start? Does that start January 1 of 2025 or what you're gonna build up?
We're gonna have to, we don't have a number yet. So I think that's the goal, is we have to come up with, internally, what, if something were to happen, some sort of catastrophic event, what that is, I don't know. We're gonna have to sit down with Dean, with Steve Thompson and say, okay, what is the safe number? Is it like, hey, how much of your savings should you have? You should have 3 months to take care of your bills. Should we have 3 years? Do we need 500,000? Do we need 750,000? Because I'm guessing if something happened, we're not talking about a $1.4 million bill. We're talking, with where everything costs these days, it's going to be an increased cost. So we just need to come up with whatever that number is. And I don't think we have that information today. And I don't think, it's something we can figure out just chatting tonight, but I want to make sure that our focus is going forward. If we call it, right now, I'm, like I said, it's my opinion, we call it even today with whatever we've taken in, whatever you've gotten, and we just go, what are we going to do going forward? So, and then that will determine, if we have a number, if we come up with that number, that will determine, hey, we're gonna leave the rates alone. We're gonna add some to the rates, what that will be, what that time frame will be. Because I think that discussion needs to still happen. So,
Realistically, if, say there was $1 million project that broke down, if we're breaking even right today, we're calling it square parties. If we didn't raise the rates and, as you said, $86,000 a year, and we have $1 million issue that comes up, it's gonna take 11 years at that, almost 12 years, just to accrue $1 million in that account if we didn't raise the rates, if something was to happen. And then you're asking us to have taxpayers in the city take a bond out to fix something that isn't paid for there's no money coming in for property taxes for the city. So.
Right, what I would say to that though too is, our system, what you're saying here cost us $1.5 million to get it up and running. And it's, to me, when I look at this is fairly new. You deal with water systems, or we do at Portson, that are 50, 60 years old that you're redoing.
Sure.
I can't promise you, no one knows.
Nobody knows when it's.
No one knows, you're right.
If something's gonna happen, it's when.
But what I would say is, for our system that we have, $1 million problem is quite big for an 8-year-old system. So I think my gut feeling is, like I said, I don't know, I'm guessing. My gut feeling is we have time to start putting this money in the bank, saving it, and hopefully build up that cash fund that you guys are wanting.
yes, but we need to determine what that amount is and what the time frame we feel it needs to be put into the bank. So it's not, if it's 500,000, do we want to wait 5 or 6 years before it's at that rate? Because it's 11 years. And again, you know, and if we do bond, it's not just the cost of the system, then it's the interest we pay on the bond. So, and again, the ask then is, we've asked the citizens of Piasta to take their tax dollars and fund the system that's in your area. So it all has to come from Thunder Ridge. All that money has to come from Thunder Ridge. I can't help it that this wasn't started 9 years ago, 14 years ago, that there was a separate account. But moving forward, that's what we're looking at is, but we need to come up, and again, we're not gonna, like I said, we're not gonna come up with that number tonight. I understand your, you know, opinion of the 1 million, and I think just for ease, Jeff was throwing a number out. But we do need to come up with what that number is and how long is the city going to take to get. You know, I don't think we want to wait 11 years to have whatever funds we're looking for. Because if something would happen, and again, I know it's relatively new.
How much risk do you want?
Yeah, so you know, we're just trying to correct the way this is handled and as we're moving forward.
Yeah, and I guess I wish it would have happened, whatever.
Sure.
6 or 8 years ago when
Can we
we,
take a vote on that?
when we came to
Yeah.
Larry Lesher and asked him
Yep.
for a 2080 agreement, he said, don't you trust us? You know,
Yeah, and we're not looking to put a 2080 agreement in, I mean, you know, as we've discussed, we're not looking to annex in right now. You know, I don't see that feasibility, at least not in the next 4 or 5 years while I'm sitting in this chair.
yeah, and I think we had our annual meeting, about, what was it, 2 weeks ago?
That's middle of September.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of the people that we're trying to talk to are people that we live with, is why aren't we getting credit for the well we gave and all this? And we try to explain, you know, well, the city doesn't use it. You know, well, why don't they use it? And you know, that's the stuff we get back at us. And so, you know, we say it's a tit for tat, it's fair now, but all of our citizens feel like we gave you $1 million. So now you've built up actually 500, 700, whatever, do the math, that you have that in your account today. And that's the hard part that we have to
Right.
explain to them.
No, and yeah, and that's why we've kind of shared the facts with you, so you could go to them and say, it wasn't compatible. This council, the staff that's here now did not make that valuation. You know, we sat here and we all talked about it at the other meeting, that there was basically one person who was on both sides of that deal and made that happen, so it was beneficial to them. So, you know, I'm just sitting here looking at where the city's at, the fiscal responsibility that as the mayor, as this council has, that moving forward, we need to be fiscally responsible for all facets of what we're in charge of. And that is one of them. So that's what we're looking
Right. The other thing that I just wanted to bring up, and you know, I don't know when you guys are gonna make a decision. I don't know if October 22nd is off the board at this point or what. As
at.
far
I think we're
as
gonna leave it there for right now. It's just so it's there. It doesn't mean that we're going to have a rate that we're gonna know at that point, but that's just a public hearing. So.
Right.
So at that point, yeah, you know, we've waited, this can's been kicked down the road several times, even with our discussions. So I feel like we're at a point now, we've discussed it, the numbers are the numbers, we're at a point where we need to go forward with this. And so we're at that point now, we have not had a chance to sit down and discuss the numbers going forward, what that looks like. So that's where we're going. And I don't want this to down the road another 2 months, 3 months, 5 months. We've got more questions. We've got more answers. We don't like your answers. We got more questions. So I think we've done a pretty good job of answering as many of the questions as we can with you. And you know, I think it's to the point where we need to kind of stop looking backwards. We need to start looking forward, and we're going to just keep everything on the schedule as it is right now.
will you guys share with us what you guys come up with?
Well, absolutely, it'll be,
Well, not the 150 or 200. I'm saying as far as what you guys come up with, as far as what you need in the fund and all that stuff.
Yeah, we can do that.
Absolutely.
It'll all be public knowledge.
It'd be nice for us to know that before you guys vote and everything too, just because, I mean,
Would we typically talk about something like that before the public hearing, or we just say, this is where we're, the recommendation of city staff or our engineer about?
I think we're gonna have to sit down and talk.
Yeah,
to
we're gonna,
Steve.
yeah, I can't give a timeline exactly what that. Like I said, Steve Thompson, the engineer, Dean, these are the guys that have the knowledge that, we as a council need to.
We're happy to read that all into the record in some
Yeah.
public forum at some point, so.
Yeah, no, we've been more
We'll
than.
get there.
And it's basically
been-
going to be, what if this happens, what will the
Yeah,
cost be?
yeah, and so then we're
Right.
gonna come up with.
We won't have
Yeah,
any
we can-
discussions that aren't public and transparent and recorded anyway, so.
right, it's just like,
Yeah.
like I said, it'd be nice for us to know before it's just talked about that night.
Right. Yeah,
I got you.
and I think we can, when we come up with a number, we can certainly do that. The only thing I will caution is if we come up with a number, it's not for discussion. If we come up with a number and we say it's 800, if it's $1 million that we're looking to get into the fund and we want it in the fund in 5 years, 6 years, 10 years. That's gonna be, it's not really, we're not gonna be looking for you guys to give us, oh, well, we'd rather have it be 20 years or, we think that the 500,000 is enough. So I just wanna make sure that that's understood, that we're gonna kind of come up with what we feel is the best number and that's what we'll act on. We'll share it with you, but it's not to share it with you, so to see what your thoughts are. If it was $10, you guys would be like, oh, we don't wanna do that. No, I'm just
As Jamie said before, that our constituents,
kidding.
Jamie and I and the rest of the board are volunteers.
Right,
And of course, we're getting a lot
as are
of
we.
questions now regarding this proposed increase or whatever it may be. And there, as Jamie mentioned, the $1 million well and all that good stuff that's behind us. People attach that to their minds.
It's hard to get away from.
And so we're trying to, I guess, appease our residents
Yep.
to what's happened and trying to not say that you're bad guys.
Right.
Okay? And as I don't know if your councilman or mayor get paid by the city or not, but
It's a stipend.
like I
It's
said,
a
we're
very small,
volunteers.
basically.
And the last few years have been a little struggle as being a volunteer with all the issues going on, but that's the nature of the job.
Yeah.
And I've been there since the 15 year when we took over from AJ. So I've been through the ups and downs of all the items. Jamie's been there, probably 5, 6 years of that. And a resident for all those years.
Sure.
So I guess it's a matter, we're trying to come up with our reasoning to present to our people of what's happened and what's going to happen.
Okay,
And, we've got questions that Jamie mentioned about the percentages and all that kind of stuff that's on the spreadsheet. And I'm not trying to say they're right or wrong, but using the 1.5 million, whatever the number is. And then got this supposedly possible thing coming up, whether it's 1 million, 500,000. That's up, you're trying to build something, to provide funds for that possible
right,
thing.
right,
And that's what we're going to have to propose,
right.
present to our people.
Yeah, just because we're not able to assess if something should happen in your subdivision.
We've got 140 odd people to talk about.
Right, no, and you have 140
You can-
different
Households.
households that are going.
Imagine the questions or comments that you get from those 140 people.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's kind of where we're at.
I sympathize,
We're,
but if you need to tell them I'm the bad guy,
no.
they may already think it's.
Volunteered and raise your hand. Now, why did we do that?
Yeah.
But, and I've been a resident there since, I guess, 2005.
Okay, yeah,
So I've been there many years.
sure,
And seen a lot of changes. And in fact, going back, our office, I'm a CPA, our office did the billing for the water prior to the 15 change.
You want a job?
Another time.
We have enough jobs.
All
This
right.
one pays.
But no, so I've been involved with the water billing and our office has been. I was the supervisor, or what do you want to call it? So I knew the numbers that was going on at that time. And the people see their bills increase.
Sure, everybody wants
does. And say, when's it gonna stop? Well, there's like anything, there's probably no stop. So now we're saying, how much is it?
Yep. All right,
That's my 2 cents worth.
yeah, okay. I appreciate you guys coming. I think, we'll just keep you informed as we get a chance to sit down again with Steve and Dean and kind of go over this, and we will certainly share, what we're looking at and go from there.
I think Annette, Jeff emailed you some questions.
Yeah, I responded back to
He
those.
emailed back. He's out of town now.
Yeah.
So we'll get together with them and
Okay.
go over those answers that you gave him.
Bet.
If he has any additional thoughts, I will present them to you.
Perfect.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for your time.
You can hang around.
I got enough things going on.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you.
Hey, how's it going? Good. Good. Hi, all.
Oh, hey. 5:30. Huh? 5:30 start.
Yeah, right.
Only Dean needed to be here because he was my backup.
I'm still chewing on this.
I just don't.
We're even now and going forward. I don't even know if I'm there.
Just,
Get our best case or our worst case scenario.
Putting everything back
We
together.
got 750 that's,
I'll tell you later.
that best calculation been contributed towards.
Happy to hold it.
That was the investment.
Over.
So we're still $750,000. I think here, so even to say we're gonna wipe the slate clean and try to accrue from here forward, I'm not sure. I mean, I think we might have to accrue faster, like if it's
well,
our experts say 500 or 750,000 in a fund, we might want to accrue at a rate to get to 1.5 because
Yes.
we know where we've been.
and that was
It-
unsaid, but that was part of
Just-
what our calculation.
I keep coming back to the calculus of the existing Piasta taxpayers bearing the burden for a replacement or an expansion or whatnot and never catching up. Now, I don't think we're probably ever going to catch up. I think it was a bad business deal on the part of the city and probably on part of the HOA. So we're stuck,
Yep.
collectively stuck, but we don't have to make the same management mistakes going forward.
And we also have a new water tower coming up.
Yeah,
So, I mean, there's
Well,
gonna
we're
be added
expanding all the
costs.
time and we're
Right.
investing. And so the citizens of Piasta are having to fund and the businesses
Yeah.
that pay taxes here. have to
And I
fund
do
it.
want to caution, that magic number that we're looking for, this is all going to be what ifs.
Correct.
Steve and Dean and I sitting down, what if this happens? This could be the cost. And I think they may be looking at it thinking, well, you said it, that was going to be the cost. So that's,
Yeah.
we have to be very cautious as we move forward.
It's scenario planning. You know, it's like, so if you had to replace the whole thing at yesterday's cost, it was 1.5 million. If you did that. So, know that in 10 years, that 1.5 million is 2.3.
One at the
You
end
know.
of the day, is look at the future growth of the city. If someone else was to get on, that's not annexing the city like that.
Sure. I mean,
Only to
that
look
that
at
very well could
the-
happen. I mean, birds could say, come to us and want to
Yeah.
annex in and
I mean, we need to look at protecting.
It's like-
I'm also looking at it from the perspective of that extra 50%, say it's $80,000 for however many years.
80 or 100.
We also we can't put all of that towards the debt and the cost to do the work we've done. We have
100%.
Right, there's,
maintenance
yeah.
and just everyday.
there is service fees and
Running it,
everything that
right.
comes.
That was the debt. That wasn't the operating
Yeah.
expenses.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not as cut and dried as.
That'll have to be what we figure out, how much of that
right.
extra goes into that account versus how much of it,
I think it's gonna come down to how risk averse we want to be as a council and how.
And to let you know, Marcy and I have a meeting with Heidi Cool, not 2 weeks, I think 2 weeks from yesterday, to talk about, let's, do some strategies on where we need to be each year, knowing that we've got these added costs coming on. And if we do increase from 150 to 200%, where is that putting us? So that will give us a lot more information to be able to share with them, hopefully to help them understand, help us understand better too.
No, I think they, I
There's
think,
a lot of things we have to accomplish in this city beyond just water. Right? So if we're sucking up our ability to take on debt and fund things just with infrastructure of sewer and water, we're never getting to the development advancement kinds of things that we also are in agreement, think we need to do.
Well said.
Half of our tax base is our big commercial businesses, and we have some things we need to take care of for them. So.
all right. Anything else anybody wants to share on that? All right, we'll get to
So easy.
work sessions itself then, October 8th and 22nd. Any questions on the agendas at this time?
I just added a couple of things to the 8th today.
Oh,
One was a pay app for the multi-use trail, and the other one was a request from PEDC for advancement of funds.
If you access the draft portion in board docs, you'll be able to see those, and I have that pulled up too.
are we working any of those up tonight?
I'd like to go over the EDC stuff.
Yeah. That's on tonight's.
Yes.
Yeah, I have it out there as a request.
And I don't know if Chick-fil-A may come through with a final pay app on Cox Springs as well, or
That's fine. We got plenty of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
just, I mean, maybe prepare, but that's gonna be pretty minor.
We're getting them
Just wait
at
till we
least
get the G.
on a schedule now where they know they have to get it to us in a timely
Right.
manner.
Yeah, like I say, that one's gonna be pretty minor, so I mean.
That's the new up for some reason. Just goes to,
We still don't have anything projected on the 22nd, right? Got that right.
That's typical. We never usually have anything. But that
I
will
didn't even put anything out there because there was nothing.
But we will be scheduling the public hearing.
Right.
For TRE.
All right. We've got PEDC down further in the agenda for tonight, so.
Yep.
Any other questions on the agendas then? All right, we'll move on, department's head discussion. Stacy, I don't know why they put you in that line, but that puts you first on my list. I think Mike has something to do with that.
Maybe a little bit. Wake me on the agenda out here, just in case something happens.
Just in case something happens.
I don't have any like big news. There are a few things now at the ball fields that I think we're gonna need to have to start discussing. Obviously, I talked about NICC and the wanting perhaps to play baseball and or softball here. Discussions haven't gone very far with Clark. Need to bring them back. But long story short, I think that planning ahead, we need to start doing some TLC down there for the day when NICC does come. And there's some eyesores, there's some different things with the fields that need to be done. Regardless, for our good, but also for the good of if and when that day does come for them to play here. So the first thing I wanted to, well, I have two things for tonight, but one of the main things I wanted to do down there is one of the batting cages that is in between the two softball fields. The last 2 years has been pretty much weeds because it's just impossible to keep up with. I would like to do to the cage what we did to the one directly across from it, which is put down a pad, put turf on top of it, and make it so people absolutely love the other cage. And that cage they can't use because of the shape that it's in. It is not cheap. The price tag, the end of the day, if guesstimates, I have not gone out for quotes. I haven't, whatever. I wanted to kind of discuss it before I did so. But I want to say we're around the 12,700, 13,000 range to do that. So that's one project I kind of wanted guidance on. As far as other things down there that need to be done, if NICC did come, it would be like, pitching mounds like on the side of the fields for a place for their pitchers to be able to warm up is something we do not have down there on either field. That they would be required to have. And then some of the other stuff is just gonna have to get when we are close to signing a contract.
You're required by their
Figure it out.
leagues and Clark's
And
not.
Clark is not.
Theirs.
We have it down there. So this is, yeah, softball. This is,
Okay,
I'm not just Spiegel yet. Spiegel has them.
Okay,
Okay,
that's what
all
I.
right, yeah, we were,
Softball.
okay, this is
Softball
softball fields,
fields.
okay.
Correct. So yeah, it's something we have to look at as far as softball as well. We'd have to look at tarps. We'd have to look at, I mean, there's a lot of things. I guess I just wanted to start, right? Like start somewhere where it's a benefit to us and would be a benefit to them if and when they would come as far as the batting cage.
I was gonna say, what's the projected that they would maybe be ready
So,
to play ball?
so they're starting fall of next year. They're starting a year from now.
Yeah.
Where they're starting, that's where the question remains. I met with
Hey,
Nick.
Stacy,
Yep.
I'm sorry, to interrupt you.
Yes, God.
Again in the sky.
Yes, John.
My question, and I don't know, and I mean, I know you and I've had an in-depth conversation about this,
Yep.
but all these additional things that we need to do or want to do to make it appropriate for a college student to be playing there has there been any discussion with NICC as far as cost sharing?
So no, and because of the part where I was about to get to, John, so when I talked with Nick, he's not confident. So at the end of the day, they want to play games at the same site. And it was kind of new to me. I've had a couple conversations with other people, where I heard before I talked to Nick, but if we cannot figure out how NICC and Clark can share next year, which I won't say there's a ton of optimism, unless we decide to step in and say one way or another. The thought is that they most likely go to Farley and play games and practice there for baseball, which would mean they would want to play games in Farley for softball so that they don't have to have a maintenance crew in two different places doing two different things. And so it's hard to start the cost sharing discussion when we don't know that they'll for sure be here.
Pardon my ignorance, but does Clark pay, is there cost sharing with Clark?
So Clark pays an annual rent for the field as well as put a ton of work into the field. So they effectively are my maintenance crew on Spiegel Field.
Part of their rent counts for the fact that.
100%. They buy a lot. What?
Just for the beginning of the year and the latter part of the year.
The fall
not
and spring,
during-
correct. Not
They
my,
do not take care of the field during the summer.
during the summer, WD for the most part does. But yes, they pay rent. They pay rent for spring and fall. So yeah, so I don't know how to, as far as the batting cage, something needs to be done, whether NICC comes or not. That's just the truth of the matter. But yeah, bigger discussions, if we get into the turf discussion, if we get into whatever, yeah, we're gonna have to start the cost share discussions. I'm not there yet. Like, I definitely have to have additional conversations before we're there. That makes sense.
If you
So
were-
as far as finding field time for the baseball is the biggest hurdle, correct?
100%. Yeah, softballs, we're golden. We'd be good for them to
Right.
start next fall and spring, whatever. Yeah,
With
we'd be
pitchers.
good. With pitchers, yeah, which, and if that, like, when I was talking to him, like, I mean, we could get by with doing very minimal. It's just how it looks, right? Like, how cheap do you go? How good do we want the field to look when they start playing here? But we could get by with what we have for the meantime.
Do they need permanent mounds? Or no, they're straight off the ground, right?
They're off the ground, so
That's
there's no.
that's flat. So I guess, so you said, and I apologize if you broke up a little bit here. You said that NICC wants to practice where they play?
They want to play games at the same site. So softball and baseball games, they want at the same site.
Oh.
So
Okay.
if baseball is in Farley, softball games will be in Farley. So essentially, the way Nick and I left it is he kind of wanted me to create a contract that said, okay, if we just practice in Piasta, what would it look like versus if we practice and play games of softball in Piasta, like as far as pricing and that kind of stuff. So they'd still perhaps have some here, or let's say they get rained out, then perhaps they would come here. But the way he was then, and this is none of it's a set in stone, like none of I don't think there's contract signed over there, I don't think anything's for sure set in stone. But I think the way he's leaning is Farley, knowing that he would for sure have the space without jumping through any hurdles or making anyone
No
mad.
stipulations.
Yeah,
Right.
does that answer your question?
And Farley takes care of those fields for them, right?
Correct, yes. I was talking to Casey Bryant a little bit. It sounds like they have someone, they hired a retired individual who does a lot of work on their baseball field for them, so they don't have to do a lot while WD's
Right.
there in the summer, but I think he does it, would do it the entire time that the field was in use.
Right. Right. So do you have a plan as far as talking to Clark and NICC about sharing the field yet, or?
Yeah, so my next part, while I continue to ask for money or ask if I can at least go down the road to get quotes and that kind of stuff, is that part of both NICC and Clark rules. Clark just changed that next year they need to have fencing in front of the dugout, which Spiegel Field does. So we are actually meeting with 2 fencing companies tomorrow to go over to get quotes on that. When this all started, NICC wasn't in the equation, and it was Clark was going to pay for the majority, if not all of it, when this started. I no longer know that if we have that bargaining chip or how we're going to go about doing that, not knowing what the future holds.
I mean, we can come from the side that they're requiring it of the field.
Correct.
So I mean, a majority of it, I could see where we could say, I mean, I get the benefit for everyone.
So my worry is, do they want that to come with a 2, 3, 4 year contract? Since they're putting in the money, yes, they need it, it is required for them, but where are we at? Are we going to ask them to leave so NICC can come? Are we going to push sharing? Are we going to, there's so many unanswered questions that my guess is they're going to be reluctant, and that's just my guess. This isn't conversations happening. But John, to answer your question, I wanted to talk to Brian to kind of see where he's at tomorrow in between these meetings with the fence company to get a better idea of if there have been conversations or where I need to go next.
Right. Because our contract with Clark is year to year, right?
Correct.
I mean, it sure would be nice to have the team that school is in our town to be able to play in our town.
100%.
I agree.
I mean, NICC is a great, NICC has been a great partner for us for a long time.
Exactly.
I think it's things we need to.
In cages, I mean, 12, 13 grand. Do we have a margin for those parts of our parks, on the leagues that we do have there? And I mean, are we collecting enough to make every 10 years or something investments in those fields?
Yeah, so
Is it a net loss?
When eon years ago, we used to the budget where 430 was still within, let's say, PCC's budget, right? Like I had all the 005s and it was all that. I will tell you at that time, I had that portion of the budget. It was probably the 5, 6, 7,000 in the black range during those years. We've since thrown a lot more into it. Some of Brennan's wages coming for mowing, and there's more public works stuff that Parks is not just that anymore. Those accounts are not just that anymore. It now includes the fire station, now includes Kelly Oaks, it now includes those that I no longer
They're
can
not separated out.
answer. Yeah, like a great, for sure, we're still, I can tell you we're as far as that much. So, I mean, depending on how you look at 5,000, 6,000, but it adds up.
And the fields are probably getting more use now, right? There's more leagues now than there were 5, 6 years ago. There's more use in the summer with the Dyersville activity and things
Yeah, I
going on.
mean,
We're
they've
renting it out for
been-
those, right?
Yeah, they've been used well. throughout the last
Yeah.
10 years. I see it getting more, we rent out some to Field of Dreams and stuff. We haven't like a ton. I have worked with them. They do want to do more next summer.
Really?
So there'll definitely be more games on weekends and stuff there than there has been in the past.
Well, I think the goal is obviously share and try and accommodate both groups would be the, I mean, that's what I would see as the ultimate goal, but if that can't be done, that's where the.
So your conversation comes.
Yeah.
Okay. So these questions.
So, Stacy, and I guess, I know we had this conversation, but I guess the only way that Clark felt, I don't want to put words in everybody's mouth, but the way Clark made it sound, the only way they could make it work for Westview, Clark, NICC, and the semi-pro teams to make it work would be for the field to be turfed, because then the wear and tear on the field won't be as bad. Is that accurate?
Yeah, well, I think wear and tear was a big part of it. I think the second, which is up there in terms of priority, is then the field maintenance as well. Turfing eliminates all the clay, all the home plate, the mound play, all the surface and the infield, making sure it's drug, all the arguments that could happen that so-and-so didn't do before we got on the field. And like the give and take, Clark telling, not that would happen, but if it would, NICC didn't take care of the
Right,
mound,
we're-
Clark didn't take care of home plate.
Right,
or,
we're doing more work than they are, type thing.
Yes. Yes.
So with that being said, what is everybody's thought on turf?
On what?
On what, John?
On the turf for Spiegel Field?
I think it's expensive.
Yeah, I
Very
mean,
expensive.
I wish we could say, yeah, let's just do it, but, what are we talking?
Yes,
To
like-
do
Well-
a field, we're looking at $500,000. To do the whole field, we're looking at $1 million.
No.
Yep.
Sorry, John, I don't know if I interrupted you.
I think there's a lot of things we want to do in town.
So back in 2020, I had someone come up to me and want to turf it really bad, to the point where he went out and got a bid for it. To turf the whole field was like, whatever, $1 million. Obviously that makes 0 sense to do that. But what if we were to go 3 ways, NICC, Clark, and us? That knocks it down to, $300,000. I know we've got other projects we got to get done, but these are the options to make that happen.
I think the one thing that we're leaving out of this discussion, if we're truly going to talk about turf, and I know we touched on it, I want to say the last meeting, is the amount we could truly do on the field if it was done. Right now, that is the one field I get questions about tournaments every weekend. In the summertime, I don't do it because,
Oh, the big one.
correct,
Really?
because they want a true baseball field instead. Because we don't have the staff to be able to maintain the field. I don't have the staff to take care of a mound after a tournament every weekend. I don't have the staff to take care of home plate after the whatever, that eliminates all of that. So I do believe, especially with Field of Dreams continuing to grow, that it would be a staple. They have tournaments every weekend, that we would be able to utilize, get, revenue from both field rent as well as.
To me, it's a business question. Could we rent it for enough that we could afford to maintain it ourselves? So if there's demand there to rent it, what can we rent it for? And would it fund itself?
What are we running for now?
$100 a game.
You'd have to redo concessions and everything, right?
So that's the hard thing, is that legally I cannot serve concessions out of the press box, which is where people want me to, because of all the rules that go in place. There's no running water, the floor isn't done, all the things. And so, yeah, I mean, when we do semi-pro, we do serve out of the regular one. People complain initially. I haven't heard complaints in recent years. It's just the reality. But yeah,
I don't feel
It is what it is.
It's not that far.
it's not that far. It's just if people know it's there or not.
And if there's something else going on, it's not that big of a, I mean, you go back and forth.
Well, I have a hard time putting that big of an investment into something we already have, knowing like all the other park development things that we really want to do. We'll just be perpetuating, not that it's bad, I love baseball, but we're perpetuating our baseball investment and not getting towards some of the other things. So that's a hard trade-off for me. not knowing what the business case is for the rent and the ability for them to share. To me, it'd be ideal if NICC and Clark could share and there was rent and we had a way to work out the maintenance thing, then there's probably modest investments that we should make to maintain that. That might mean we have to have some of our own maintenance staff.
Yeah, I mean, we
And then that-
save thousands and thousands of dollars not having.
Right.
When I talked to Casey Bryant about this, it was a couple weeks ago. Actually, it was last week. I got the 5 a.m. call. Him and I had a long conversation about it. And I was asking him about maintenance and whatever. I'm like, I'd at least have to hire a maintenance person. He's like, you'd have to hire a maintenance crew, Stacy. He's like, you need a crew here. Like, we're not talking one person, you know, whatever. So we're talking, yeah, I mean, we're talking many of thousands of dollars to
Yeah.
Maintain.
Right, so then the investment and the rent and the whatever has to cover that. So you
100%.
can't almost have the investment discussion without knowing the revenue share and the participation, how that's gonna work, because we have to build a
But
business case that we
all
can
that
afford
also
it.
goes away with turf. Like, so us having to hire the maintenance crew for the most part goes away with turf, because then you don't need the stuff for the infield, the edging, all the things that go in it.
Yeah.
Would
And
you
somebody
be
has to
able
make the
to
money for
pull
investment.
West Dubuque away from Farley
No.
if it was turf?
Yes.
No?
Yeah, it's no. At
I,
least it's-
I don't know how you answered that, Stacy, but I had a conversation with someone from the school and he said 98% certain no.
So they're locked in there.
So you're saying there's a chance?
2%. No, I mean, yeah, both that I've talked to, that was the same answer.
That means the decision makers know.
I think maybe we just ask what each AD's opinion would be on.
Well, I think
If
there's
we
no
went with the
surprise.
turf.
I mean, if I would have presented this, I would have had numbers together, right? I agree with you. We need a cost analysis. We need to know how much rent would be. We need to know how much revenue is coming in. To know what's different in expenses. How much do we save in mowing? How
Right.
much do we save in product, field material? How much do we know? And I don't have that in front of me right now. So to say the numbers like could promote
What's
it,
the ROI
I do know we could do more than
Yeah.
we do.
And how long would it take to pay that off at
Correct.
what rate?
But I don't think you could just do half the field.
Ironically, it's a common answer. The more and more people I ask, the more and more people say
Yeah.
that I should just do the infield.
They're doing infields and.
Yeah.
We played on the infield as turf and the grass in the outfield many times as my kids growing up through the levels.
Interesting.
Yeah, it
It's an
seems to be,
improvement.
I mean, we obviously have work to do on the outfield, but
So then you get,
seems to
figure out we
be
make that drain a lot faster.
Still back to the maintenance.
of the outfield, but still.
Yeah, you gotta
all the-
Be a lot less.
That's a lot of grass you're getting. I mean, you get dead spots out there now with them guys just standing there for.
And that's their worry, is the dead spots when you get two collegiate teams there.
Yeah.
So. I mean, it could be a lot bigger conversation. I guess I'm gonna try to bring it back in as far as these investments. Where do we stand in terms of, can at least look at
Batting cage?
getting
It
quotes?
sounds really good right
The
now, doesn't it?
batting cage.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And then the fencing in front of the
And fence,
dugouts,
yeah.
as far as once I get the quotes, start the discussion,
Yeah, I
as
think
far
it's,
as who pays,
Do you have money in your budget?
yes. Yes, I do,
I would
I knew it was
push,
coming.
I would push a little bit on the cost sharing with the fencing, since that's a requirement from Clark itself. I'm not saying that they're gonna jump to a different field, but if they weren't asking for it and need it, we wouldn't be looking at doing it.
And those.
I mean, I don't know what the cost of that is. I know it's not, we're not talking the 500,000.
No, we're not. And I'll know obviously more once I
Yeah.
get quotes back, but
I would think they'd be
What for a reason?
amicable to something along that line, since they know they're making their request.
I agree.
So. and we need to, I don't wanna say look at it as turn it into a profit center, but it's really not an amenity for the majority of the citizens of this town.
Yeah.
So
I
it's.
don't know, it's our dog park. Don't look at.
Well, that's a whole nother discussion.
Yes, it is.
You feel like a lot of,
November work session.
a lot of citizens of our town use the smaller diamonds, you know, various leagues and
Yeah.
things that they're in. I
Oh,
know
yes.
that's a little bit indirect, 'cause those
Yes.
leagues are also
Right.
paying fees.
Yes,
But I think we should keep that investment up, because those things are gonna get used.
100%.
Those batting cages, they probably last for 10 years. I mean, if
Yeah.
you do it right. Can't be the only park we invest in, though. It just cannot. So
And speaking of investing in parks, it is fantastic to drive by Kelly.
It's amazing.
Oh, we haven't even touched that yet.
Go for it.
When can we use it? When
Yeah,
can we
there's
use it?
So the trail itself is fine. What I'm referring to is the playground. We've ran into a lot of issues with the playground. We're still trying to figure out a lot of the stuff. So when the installers went in, and it's not done. I don't know if you've been up there, but if you go, you can tell that there's pieces that are not done. There was some hardware and stuff that wasn't there, they couldn't find or got lost, whatever it is. So I have that ordered. But there was also a couple parts that we were worried about the safety and stability of, including the spider web, like the little rope spider web and the slides. And so I brought the company that sold us the playground out on Monday. And ironically, he agreed with us with a lot of it. And then today I reached out to the installers to talk about some of the things. And so between the two, we're working on making both of our ease our minds, I guess. So it's a work in progress, but I think we're trending in the right direction in terms of getting everything where we need to go that we feel comfortable.
Do it right.
So do you have anything to add to that?
No, I would say, but still looking at probably 3 weeks for final
Oh, yeah.
completion.
Sure.
Just to get all the new parts that we have to order to do what we want to do to kind of
Parts and
stabilize it
install.
more, and then the port in place.
Well, I think it's going to be attractional based on the reaction of my 4-year-old and 6-year-old grandsons. They are losing their mind.
Really,
When
just
they
seeing it?
can go, use the tree and beyond. So that's what we want. We
Good,
want to
yeah.
draw people into the park and
Absolutely.
that's gonna be cool.
So.
When are they looking at finishing the trail? Are they?
So the trail is basically completed. I mean, the asphalt's in place, the backfilling is completed. Seeding is basically restoration is the only thing that needs to take place out the trail.
Nice.
I thought they had said yesterday that they were gonna have the parking stalls on Mila Drive completed as well, but they only put a binder lift down on asphalt, so we're still waiting on the surface lift on that, which is, they're figuring probably 2 weeks out with such a small project. They're saying they're just using it for filler work in between state projects. So, but yeah, but I mean, the trail is amazing. Yeah, I mean, it's beautiful out there, especially this time of year. It's just
Too bad the
phenomenal.
park's closed and we can't go on.
I was gonna say one more, well, people are.
Well, you wouldn't be the first one if you broke that rule,
October
which is good. I mean, I think it's awesome.
People at least can't see me.
Yeah.
October 12th, we are doing a groundbreaking for the pavilion. I did give the elementary school shovels to paint for us to utilize, in the hopes that, kind of spread the word for parents to bring their kids, to this event. So I do have Piasta Elementary's back. I'm still working on Seton to paint some shovels for us as well, to bring them in as well. So we're getting there for that.
Carolina.
Yeah, and she will. She is working on finding face painters for me for next weekend.
Nobody can say
so-
no to Carol.
So-
And Dean gets all the pink shovels.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of pink.
off of them.
That's awesome.
I was gonna, once I get.
I thought we were gonna build a showcase for them.
We talked about what do we do with the shovels when we're done using them, so further discussion to be had.
Nice.
And I'm in for that one. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Look, as a thank you to both elementary. I'm done.
You've taken up the other two gentlemen's time.
I know, I'm
They don't
sorry.
get to talk. No, Dina. go
Absolutely
ahead.
did. I mean, don't expect me to be that long. I don't know if we got a big enough bottle of water.
we
She
got
just
plenty of
wants you to
water.
talk about the batting cage that she wants.
Well, we've had that conversation and yeah, unfortunately, we would have to be a part of that.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, basically, not that I like to say the winter word, but yeah, coming into that season, I mean, this week, we recently got our salt quantities hauled back in, which amounted to a total of 100 or 205, somewhere around there. Got it blended yesterday, so that's all in place now.
Nice.
Which
Way to
is,
roll.
yeah, a good feeling. Keep our fingers crossed and hopefully we never have to use an ounce of it.
Yeah, the
but,
better prepared we are.
Yep, absolutely. So yeah, that's another project out of the way for us. Another one that we're looking at here in the near future is the surfacing on Heather and or a half portion of Heather and Cassandra, which is supposed to take place on Saturday. Not the best of timing, but again, small project. They're using it for fill-in work. So yeah, they're leaning towards Saturday. Possibly they thought maybe Friday night, or Friday afternoon, but more so gonna be looking at Saturday.
Thought they were gonna do it last week. They had some trucks out over there.
They milled it last
Okay.
week. So they did the milling last week, yes. Yeah. Just to have that out of the way in case they, had a break in action somewhere where they could have jumped in and put that surface on. So, yeah. But aside of all that, basically, we're starting to, work away at the yard clipping site, try to get that hauled out, and then maybe, with the dry weather, what we've been having, probably gonna get a hold of somebody to come in and chip the branches on the one side. And then we can start disposing of them as well. So, yeah. Other than that, not a whole lot, just,
Stop signs?
stop signs. Yes, sir. I confirmed the 2 flashers today. We have the stop signs. We actually. Do we have to wait for the resolution? Can we install them?
I would go ahead. I mean,
Go ahead and
there's a
install.
resolution that I kind of stumbled on for stop signs. We have to identify them. And it hasn't been updated since 2014,
Saw
so,
that on the list.
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, faces are poured. It's just a matter of installing the stop signs, and we can actually install the stop signs. Tomorrow we could. I'd prefer to wait till next week just to give the Mason a little bit more time to set up, but. I mean, we can-
Whatever your opinion is.
I think Monday would probably be good.
When you're ready.
I would prefer to do it
Let's do
Monday unless
even
anybody's seeing any
Tuesday.
issues over there.
No.
So, okay, and then by then too, we should have the flashers and we can install them, complete.
The little provisional stop thing in the middle of the road goes away, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's hard to navigate.
Apparently, there's a question to that.
It's hard to navigate.
A lot of people use it
It
as
does slow
stop
people
sign.
down majorly though.
Yeah.
It really does.
No, it's working. They're not,
Question.
it's mostly they don't know what to do.
Right.
And Mike, you know what you call that when you do that? It's called, no, it's called a road diet.
Yeah, right.
It seriously is.
But it's definitely having negative effects on the shoulders. And
Yeah.
my fear is on those sidewalk pads that
All of a
are
sudden,
taking
this could be like,
an absolute
Taking a
beating.
you're gonna be here going, we need to fix those.
Yeah.
Just put them in.
Yeah, and quite honestly, I mean, we're fortunate that it's dry, but if we ever got some rain, with those, that shoulder that's being cut coming from Leon on the Cox Springs heading north there, it's gonna turn into a muddy mess. Yeah, so I mean, there lies into another safety hazard, getting that mud drug on that sidewalk and somebody slipping and falling up.
Ever since that's been put up, that crosswalk there, we did check the speeds on our radars out there, dramatically slowed it down, I think, so it does. And especially with that stop signs going in, I mean, it's gonna be 20, up past the schools. I'm sure people will speed up, but I mean, it's dramatically slowing it
It's
down.
not a straight, just go.
Correct.
Then I think we talked, we're not putting anything at the Cox Springs birds in terms of traffic.
Correct.
Are we gonna go ahead
with
and
the
put
stop
something
signs.
on the pedestrian
So
trail?
yes, he has the stop signs. That's what's gonna go up on the trail.
Great.
Yeah, perfect.
Sounds
They'll
good.
probably actually be installed tomorrow.
Yep. Good, great.
Mentioned, we actually have them down at the shop, so.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be sufficient. People are going pretty slow when they turn into that
Mhm.
corners.
Correct.
Drivers.
Yeah, so I mean, along with that, having the stop signs installed, we may not have the stop blocks themselves painted. I'd like to hold off with that, to have Pleasner come in and paint the parking stalls on the end of Mila, along with those stop blocks that
Yeah, that makes sense.
take place by the stop sign on Cox Springs. So,
Great.
yeah, just, yeah, patience on it, but we'll get it completed.
Good,
Good.
good progress.
Chief? Yeah, the only thing I got for you today, Marcy's kiddos and 15 other kids came for Community Service Day through homecoming for Western Dubuque, and we painted the police department. And did a great job, and we got 95% of it done. We got a couple of rooms left, that's it. But otherwise, just banged it out and got it done, so looks great.
You're
Less
also
cost.
washing fire trucks at the fire department.
So some of them went to the
Project
fire
there.
department, yep, and did some stuff there. I had about 5 or 6 in and out to help with that, but one project done that needed to be done and it looks great.
And free.
Yep, cheap
Well,
labor.
Huge,
Yeah,
free
really.
thanks. Thanks,
Yeah,
guys.
they did a good job.
The West Dubuque, thank you. All right, well, now we'll move on to, Dean, you're probably gonna get dragged in again here.
Yeah.
Navarre Court.
Want me to start?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jump in.
It's your world, we're just living in it.
No, absolutely. Yeah, so there has been some discussion back and forth with HOA over there at Thunder Ridge, sorry. And the fact that they would like some cost share on something that, you know, quite honestly, I feel is basically a stormwater issue. Not really necessarily something that I feel that our easement, our access point to the lift station is a culprit to the problem, but we're the ones that are being affected by it because, I mean, getting down to that every time we actually go over there, every time there's a rain event, the water is channeled to that easement and it's washing it out. So every time we need to access it, I mean, it affects us, it takes up more time, and then we have to go over there and fix that just to access. So this summer was a definite struggle with all the rain events we've been having. But yeah, I mean, it's just to the point now where, you know, everything's just powder and there's such a channel washed that we can't salvage it anymore.
Is this partially due to any changes that the homeowners in that area have done? Similar to when we talked about the water events over here on what streets over here?
Hensley and Riley.
Yes.
So yeah, absolutely. I mean, the very end house down there, when that was established, the sod is up from the actual pavement line, maybe 3-4 inches, whatever it may be, but that's still enough considering the amount of grade that's coming off of that hill. You take all that water and you channel that around and then now again, funnel it into one location. So yeah, I mean, if somewhat of the water, if the storm water was dispersed and portion of that, you know, would go the other direction, it would definitely help. For me to say that that would solve the problem, I can't necessarily say that it will solve it, but it would definitely help to channel, you know, the majority of the water that direction.
I guess at this juncture, not understanding anything more than what you've shared, I mean, I don't see where it falls under the responsibility of the city for either maintenance or correction. It is their property, they do own it, and we do have the easement in place so that we can get to the lift station, which is there for their usage.
Yes.
So,
and not only is it their problem or their property, but I mean, it's basically the problem resulting from the street and the stormwater, you know, the ability for them to collect the stormwater to prevent that from happening, you know, isn't happening.
We just drive across the easement when we go in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It was an established easement that we have access to that lift station.
I guess at this point, I mean, the discussion is whether the city is interested in cost sharing. I would say that's a no. If anybody needs to tell them, who do we need to talk to?
That would be
Probably
Jeff Corkery.
Jeff Corkery. I mean,
And copy Kyle.
I did basically, when Kyle reached out to me, I basically told him no, that, you know, the city has no interest in cost sharing, so.
And that has gotten back
that
to Jeff and that's gotten back to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So it's just a reiteration. We discussed.
Just reiteration, you
Talk about it. Yeah.
with, you know, email so that not he said, she said, we said. All right, compost site discussion.
All about Dean tonight.
That is.
We kind of discussed this earlier in the year, that we would come back to it as a discussion to talk about where the labor, how much labor we're putting into it. We know it's an amenity, but it's costing us quite a bit of money to maintain it. Is it something that we want to continue to do?
You're saying it's costing us 28 a year?
That's the labor.
28,000 a year?
It says we're averaging 28K per season, 7 months.
I thought I remember that number from what, the amount of time that guys were spending.
Yeah, this is the.
I was trying to make
That's what
sense out of the
yeah.
spreadsheet where we got 28,000, trying to understand.
Should be on there.
What's a net cost? There's a spreadsheet, but it looks like it's the garbage revenue and expenses.
So basically, this year we increased the rates for garbage to cover, you know, large garbage pickup, garbage tags, and costs for compost for labor. So as of right now, where we're at for this $16 a month that we're paying, we're covering all the expenses. We're not, you know,
So if I look at that
We're not
2026
losing any
number,
money,
we've got a net margin of 28. Right?
so yeah, I don't know why I can't pull up that spreadsheet.
It's just-
So I took that spreadsheet together and I'm like, this is the expenses, you know, from last year, this is what we
I had mine open, yes.
expect.
Mine was.
Okay, so the fund is a net positive. And compost is in there as part of it. I thought we were saying that composting cost us 28K a year.
We were just gonna take a look and see what it costs us for a full season, and if that's something that we wanted to continue to do. And then,
I think as long as we're covering costs.
again, this is just
When we
throwing
go,
it back.
when we go underneath, then we have to look at it.
I do have a question for you though, Dean. Do we ever make compost out of that site?
We did not. No.
Have we ever looked in to see what it would cost to
So-
actually chip all that stuff?
So again, and that's part of the reason, not only do we chip that to make compost, but we also need the grass clippings to go along with that to create the heat, to break them particles all down. The problem we have is the area.
We don't have
It's
enough
just
area
not
to do it.
big enough. I mean, with all the storms that we had this year alone, filled up the tree branch side of it. So again, and that's why I say, I mean, to justify the branches, I mean, the branch section of that out there, I mean, if we had to haul all that to the actual landfill, I mean, we'd never get it done in a year, just because it's so bulky and you don't get no tonnage on a load.
Right.
So therefore, that's why I want to try to get the grass clipping side emptied out and have, I think it's TW or something out of Delhi or Irville, that area up there, Delaware, to come in and grind that stuff and then blow that over in the grass clipping side,
Well, they'd come over as a regular service to
Correct.
chip it and move it.
Correct.
And then we
Well,
haul
they
it.
would, yeah, they'd chip it and then blow it on the other side as a disposal side.
And we'd haul it out.
And then we could haul more of it or,
Stock
people are looking for it, or maybe we have some slopes that are out at the Kelly Oak Park or somewhere that we want to,
Right.
put it, lay it down on, but at least we don't have to, the cost of paying it, but keep in mind, we're gonna have the cost of the chipping.
Sure.
Breakdown.
Yeah, you can get an
What's it cost on that?
with the cost that would be, it would.
So, I mean, I don't know, I don't actually, without knowing how much he can chip in an hour, but I think, the last time I talked to him, it was a flat rate just to show up was basically $500.
So yeah, so what I put
And I
together
think
was
that
basically
included
25%
An
of the
hour,
year,
2 hours.
25% of the year complete. So we should be on pace. But yeah, we did increase the rates because over the last couple of years, we've lost money, but I think that was a bigger portion of, we spent $30,000 to put the new site together. And then it just wasn't keeping up. And we transferred funds, but no, we did increase the rates. So that's why I put on the bottom, like, if we decided to not have the compost pile, are we gonna leave the rate at $16?
That was gonna
A
be my
month?
next question.
Or does it need to go down? It's really not supposed to be something we're making money, it's supposed to cover. So when we increased the rates to $16 this year, that was to cover all of it, as, so essentially the residents are paying for the benefit. And this doesn't take into consideration, that we're probably a little bit better off in this because Thunder Ridge does pay 150%. So,
I feel like leaving it as is and
Yeah,
yeah. But
I mean,
think
that's a
if you can get some-
2026
however you.
projection,
Yeah.
so let's see how it actually.
It's just, let's look at also when you get some more idea of how much for the chipping, like we can talk about that when we go through budget season and.
Right, that'll obviously vary from year to year,
Yeah.
like I said, we've.
Let's see what that looks like.
Many a storm event,
Thinking
but
that-
also on top of that, with the town growing and aging, we're seeing the maturity of trees as well. So
Yep.
I mean,
Bigger things to come down.
yeah, I mean, it's gonna be.
And a lot on your labor, because with all the other projects that your guys are trying to work on
Right,
and concentrate on, it really takes away from.
right, absolutely.
as
I
well.
mean, yeah, I mean, it was a definite benefit that we built a bigger site, but I mean, yeah, there comes a time when it.
Chipping it and blowing it over, you wouldn't have as much labor cost in it, right?
Well, I mean, one way or another, we still have to dispose of it. We can't just leave it in the bin.
No, we could start putting it somewhere.
Right.
Or stockpile or.
Right, I mean, we won't have a landfill cost or, whatever it may be, and.
Let it ride another year.
Another year, let it ride another year.
And we can update this because we're only, a quarter through the year, so
Yeah. look at
obviously
that
update
year.
it, but
Yeah.
we're going into the season where it's gonna be less.
Anyway.
Yeah, now, I mean, now that we've got it there, it's, yeah, something that we'll keep an eye on. Discuss the possibility of contracting seasonal mowing to maximize Dean's guys to do the other stuff that we require of them. Nice lead in, Annette, good job.
Can I ask one more question before?
You can.
I mean, since we're on that site, we're gonna continue with that disposal site. I mean, is it something we want to look into as far as cameras for that site to see how much misuse is actually taking place up there? Or we want to just continue to use the way it is?
We want to open a can of worms.
I mean, I'm just asking. I don't care what anybody's opinion. I mean,
I appreciate that thought, but the time that it would take for somebody to go
Monitor it.
and monitor it or go back through it.
Well, you got a guy there every day, right? Drive by every day.
yeah, we're by there all the time.
So if you saw something sitting in there, I don't think it would take that much time to actually go through that day's worth of time of how many people were there to find it. I mean, because you'd notice it right away.
Oh, right, absolutely.
Find out.
No, like I say, I'm just asking. I mean,
Yeah.
whatever your guys' opinions are is perfectly
And
fine.
Justin, your question on the camera system, we're still waiting on the bond, is that correct, come through that,
That's 2-3 years down the road.
there you go. Before I can,
But I mean, we can
Time to
look
look
at
at
that site specific because there is obviously internet at the.
Well, that's why I asked.
Yeah.
Yeah, just put
That's why I was.
Just put a, like
a
a
blink or whatever else,
ring or,
ring, yeah.
yeah.
So a couple cameras up on a pole on each end.
Service deterrent too, probably.
I was just gonna say that if you make it real obvious, it's gonna keep people from doing it in the first place.
Correct.
Real obvious where they can't get to them.
And again, that's the only reason I asked the question. I mean, if it's something that we're gonna proceed with, then
Cause those were probably, I mean, you're only talking cheap, couple $100.
I was gonna say.
$30 a month for a subscription or something like that.
I mean, for a system, you would want a somewhat decent system, probably a couple $100, for just that site alone, that they can go into the public works building and that's where you could view it from, because you probably have to take internet to use
Hardwire
it.
it.
Huh?
Hardwire it.
Yeah, whatever. But regardless, it would be a couple $100 just for just like 2, 3, 4 cameras up just for that area up there. Yeah.
Have we noticed any? A lot of what?
Actually, the other day I did see a vehicle coming from the east. Fortunately, I had just passed Zach on the road. I called him up and asked if he could go check that out, only because I was going the other direction. Otherwise, I would have pursued it myself. But and it was a resident from Birds Acres with a trailer load.
Zach told him to pack up and get on and get it.
Yeah. So I mean, if there's something obvious, I'll bring it to somebody's attention, or I'll go out there myself or whatever it may be, but I mean.
We don't have the commercial side like we were having. This will go with my question.
Commercial side?
Where the commercial mowers and things.
Commercial mowers. No, not that I'm aware of, but
We were
again,
having that over there.
yeah, absolutely.
At the other side, they're not.
And I actually spoke with the commercial, some of them anyway, and shut it down.
I mean, I think that was a lot of the big expense that.
I mean, there has been businesses in the industrial area that have called and said, can we dump up there? And basically, if they're having somebody come in and do it, it's like, no, if you're gonna have it, if you're gonna have it loaded on the truck already, just dispose of it somewhere that we don't have to handle it again. So, and they understand.
I kind of lean toward, let's get cameras if we need them, if we feel like there's a lot of abuse, but if things have settled down since we've moved it. It's paying for itself, maybe we just continue to monitor and we bite the camera thing at some point before we kill it. As a benefit to the city, if it becomes an abuse
There are a
problem.
couple of fake cameras and a sign that says this is being.
I mean, we had a couple trail cams.
We had trail cams up there, yeah.
I mean, they're down
No
now.
pictures.
Yeah, but we did have them up there.
It's not too-
But
Yeah.
It's an option.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with it. And it's not something we have to address immediately. I
Yeah,
mean,
no, just keep talking.
I mean, we're
about
coming into the season where the site's gonna be shut down here pretty soon anyway, so I mean. And. You know, with the exception of a few, you know, brushes or bushes and stuff like that, as far as around the houses, that's about all we're receiving now with the mild weather that we've been having. So.
Okay. Thank you. We'll move on to the discussion about the community center board of
Oh,
directors.
seasonal
Oh, sorry.
seasonal mowing.
Seasonal mowing.
Seasonal mowing.
Sorry.
So that kind of was a segue. I mean, we've been talking about
Sorry, please.
staff time mowing. We're taking on more areas to mow. Is it feasible to start looking at hiring, not necessarily like a Rick's Lawn Care or Dolphin Lawn Care? Is it getting somebody that's retired that wants to mow, that possibly may even have a CDL that would want to push snow in the winter?
Didn't we have a seasonal mower for a while?
Seasonal mower.
Somebody who's,
No.
And I don't believe he wants more hours than what he's putting.
No, he 100%
If I
does not.
understand.
so you're looking for somebody who's retired.
Dude, I have 3 jobs. Don't look at me. If you're looking for someone with time, I think you're.
I mean, in reality, depending on what the couple years, I mean, you could possibly pull somebody right. Our original staffing. I'll volunteer if the pay is right.
Love to mow.
I'll volunteer if the pay is right.
There you go.
You know, and it's just food for thought. As we start the budgeting process, this is the time now to start thinking about all those areas.
Yeah.
Dean did identify them a couple years ago. You went on the zoning map and identified the mowing areas, and some of the quotes were coming back at like $1,500 a week. And that's when you start getting into the lawn care businesses. That's why it's so
Sure.
expensive. But to find somebody that you can contract as a 1099 employee and pay them $20 an hour to mow, and you don't have to worry about any of the benefits or,
Using
running
our
it through
equipment.
payroll. Exactly.
Using our equipment.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way you expand staff. You contract that incremental thing until you
Right.
actually have a whole job that you need to staff.
And I mean, there may be opportunities with NICC, some of the kids in the summer.
That's a great idea.
I mean, we're getting real close to that too, considering the site that we have down, the retention ponds and the site we have down by Dartford. That green space area down there.
Yeah. Long time.
Kelly Oaks is gonna, you know, definitely take a lot more preparation and attention, you know, in the near future here. The trails, you know, the areas that we have to maintain along the trails and such, so, yeah.
Dean's asking for a new employee in his budget. I hear it.
No, we just wrote down. So.
I hear it.
That's without even the lawn mowing.
How many hours a week do you think of mowing it is that we're looking to?
Incremental, yeah.
I mean, like I say, with all those areas, with the increase of properties, I mean, we're getting up there almost to, you know, if it's somebody that's gonna tend to the maintenance of the lawnmower. I mean, we're looking at probably 36 hours a week.
And is that,
36 hours a week.
does that include trimming as well, or is that just mowing?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
that, you know, that's including trimming as well, but I mean,
That's a lot.
mhm.
We can maximize a 1099 employee for the summer. I mean, it makes sense.
No, I like the idea about
I like
NICC.
that.
Are you thinking PCC stuff too, or you're just thinking, oh,
I think that we need to talk about it. I mean, there's a good strong possibility.
because mine's 20 plus an hour or a week.
So you can
yeah.
almost look at a couple
So
of.
we're,
Yeah.
yeah,
If you got 4 or 5 NICC students and they, each work, 10,
10, 15 hours. a
15
week.
hours a week. They don't get to the point where it's like,
I will say that we've had zero luck with that
yeah.
in the summertime, they
Is there
want more hours. If you can't offer them 30, 35 hours, that's not
full-time
working.
Okay,
job.
well,
It's not
well, it sounds
Get
like
down
we
to
can.
2 guys.
Yeah, sounds like we can get there.
And NICC would have to use our equipment. Is that not what you said? Maybe I
Yeah.
missed.
Yeah, we
They
did.
would use our.
Right,
equipment.
whoever we contract, they would use our
Use this.
equipment.
I would say that, the maintenance would still probably fall on us to maintain the equipment.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the route we would go, it definitely would have to.
No, I
So if
just,
that's something you'd like to entertain.
yes, 100%.
Yeah.
I think as we continue to grow here, there's gonna be more we're going to need the public works team to take care of for us, so. Time is better spent on bigger fish.
Yeah.
All right,
Spring, it's busier.
right there. PCC board, the reason I asked Annette to add this to our discussion is I don't have a lot of understanding on it. What it does, why it's there. It's a city facility and the only connection we have is you, Stacy. We don't interact with them. We don't know what their thoughts are. I guess I feel like there should be at least some communication back and forth or some sort, we should have some sort of input as the council. So that's the discussion I want to have is, I know I don't want to say it's the way it's always been, but it's the way it's always been, right?
I mean, so yeah, the board has definitely changed since my day one to day now in terms of, I don't want to say power, but the power of the board. Like, I think when I came in day one, they were very much my supervisor, very much like I guess right above me, right? I think now it's turned into and morphed ever since we hired a first administrator. It definitely has gone down to, they're very much just an advisory board who are there to help with issues when they come up, to help in any area that's needed and kind of give guidance has kind of been their new role as far as that.
I'm gonna come from a standpoint of, what we charge. I mean, the rates that we have, are they, because I know it costs a lot to run this place. And it's at a deficit every year, and I get it, it's an amenity.
We're not at a deficit every year. I mean, I'm not sure what numbers we're looking at or what are within that, but I haven't, last year we were, but before that we were not. I mean, I can whip out the spreadsheet and have, I guess I don't know what's included within.
Yeah, and I guess and again, I'll plead the ignorance, because I know what we have here and what we invested last year, and I guess I don't know that anyone on this council knows anything about why do we charge $1,100 for the reception hall? Why do we charge $35 for a membership? Why do we charge, what are those numbers? How long have they been there? Should they be adjusted? Because we don't know any of that.
Yeah, and so I would say councils ago, I wouldn't say any of you were on council at the time.
Right.
What I was told at that time was, we don't want to know the day-to-day. We don't have the time for we don't have that. To answer your question, every other year increases are happening, both in the reception hall and memberships. January 1, our memberships will go up again, as they have every other year for the past, I think 8 years, I think is when we put it in place.
Yeah.
So whether or not the jump is big enough, we've been doing 5% for membership. And then as far as banquet hall, it's just kind of been we usually do like 100.
With the banquet hall,
Yep.
I mean, do we survey other banquet halls that are comparable?
Absolutely.
And where do we stand cost-wise to them as far as renting them out?
So as far as if we compare fairgrounds and stuff, we've always been pretty comparable. So all of us, and maybe you know exact numbers. I can't tell you exact numbers. Vicky is very much in charge of all things banquet halls. I will tell you that she knows every single person and she's talked to every single person. I know we're high on cake prices compared to everyone else. I know with beer can prices, we're probably a little under where everyone else is, only because we're trying to push them all to cans versus kegs. As far as rent itself, my understanding is that we're close as far as where everyone's at. I don't think we're way above everyone, but I don't think we're way below everyone.
Okay, and I guess that.
But yes, all of those things are being done. I mean, in terms of
I guess I would
calling,
say,
asking the
and
questions.
the idea of an advisory board sounds good to me if it's helpful to you, just
Yeah.
because of the amount of complexity of the different things that happen here. I don't know that level of minutia would be a good use of this group's time. But then the supervision piece, it reads in here, the director shall be under the direct supervision of the board. I don't like that. Now that we have a city administrator, I thought the reporting relationship was there.
It's been that way.
Yeah, so that's, so
But our
I would
document
say,
doesn't say
so that, yeah, so that
So-
document hasn't been updated.
You know, we could tweak that,
But that was definitely the understanding, like, that's
Right.
also the understanding that the board has right now, in terms of they know it's no
Right.
longer
But,
that
but I guess my
relationship.
question is having an advisory board helpful to you? Do you see it as helpful? Or do we see this as somehow redundant with what we're already doing with city? All the staff's employed by the city, right? They're not, so when you read PCC, direct supervision, you feel like you have a sub-staff.
It was very different.
Thing here
15
to
years ago.
determine the salaries and wages for employees of the city community center.
Yeah, I mean, this
They
is
could
one of those.
recommend based on market analyses of what it takes to run these things and whatnot, but yeah.
Yeah, there's several things in there that it just needs to be
Sub-city.
updated. Yeah.
Do you find it helpful having an advisory board?
1,000,000%.
Yeah, so
I think it's lost on how many little,
you got,
I mean, and some of that stuff, yes, maybe I should share more, maybe, you know, and that stuff we can talk about in terms of everything, but just the little things that go on that, yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think that it's, not to say it's not worth your time, but I just think that this is just a drop in the bucket as far as just the little,
Well, I think
can I
it's-
spend money on a batting cage?
maybe it's not dissimilar to like the park board. It's like an advisory board to help like inject ideas and maybe work and whatever to guide city staff, but ultimately the governing decisions are here, which would be investments and we're improving wages, I assume.
Yeah, and I think that, again, I don't like the word power, but I think all of that was taken before Annette, when Whitney was here, it was kind of when it was starting to kind of, obviously we had an administrator and we had that
Right.
person where we didn't have prior to that.
Should we
And that
be
makes-
improving the revenue side of the house, which is like, you know, the prices and the fees and whatever, on recommendation from city staff, you know, the board's looked at and whatever, these are our recommendations for January 1. And here's why. That's where we get a sense of the market analysis and those other things that are being,
That I can see.
that we can do, just like we're
Definitely.
improving wages.
Days.
That would
Right.
feel like you're more informed, but yeah, I would think an advisory board's helpful to you. So, you know,
yeah, I can't say enough good things about some of the work that they put in, the help they're willing to do
How often do they meet as a board?
monthly.
Monthly?
Do you rotate them out? I mean, this document says it's
3-year
like
terms.
every 3-year
And
term.
it's supposed to be through every 3
Yeah.
year. I mean, whether or not,
they can re-up.
Well, and it's tough to find those volunteers
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
I get it.
people who are passionate, who want to put in the time to be on a volunteer board,
Right.
it's not like they are getting paid or they are.
Then that board paint all of the interior one time, like,
The board has done
7 years ago, yeah.
many of things for me.
Yeah,
I mean, the board was the first one here when we had a flood downstairs because our sprinklers broke. The board was the first one here when it happened the second time. Like, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that they, yeah, just willing to kind of go above and beyond. In terms of being willing to
It's not a
help.
bad thing.
No, I mean, they definitely help, they help with some of our marketing, they help with some of our newsletters, they help with some, I mean, there's a lot of moving parts downstairs, a lot of stuff that you put on our plate. We continue to grow, we continue, you know, outside stuff, inside stuff. It's just all great things, but a lot of things.
Good.
Oh.
Getting a better understanding.
Well, and anytime you want to talk, like, have
Yeah.
questions about it, just
Yeah.
come down, talk, let's talk.
Yeah, I think I will do that. I kind of.
If this is an official ordinance document, I think we need to revise it.
And this is on that list. We're gonna start right at the
Okay.
top and work
Yeah,
our way
'cause the
down.
Reporting structure and all those
Yep.
things really are.
We discussed, and this hasn't been shared with you yet because I hadn't had an opportunity, but we're gonna start going through all the top, take 3, bring them to a work session and just start working through them. Because there are so many that are outdated. I mean, right now, we're just putting out fires. We're just, picking up stuff that we need to look at right away, and they really need the once over. And it should be done about once every 3 years, honestly.
Thank you, Stacy. Appreciate that. Resolution in support of the Piasta Economic Development Corp. For the benefit of Piasta.
I want to add, we have about 27 minutes left on the recording. We have a 2-hour block,
Oh,
just
So what does that
FYI.
mean? We start another recording?
I mean, I could create another meeting.
We go over, I just want to, not that I'm trying to push the meeting along by any means, but
just stop.
But I am.
Just stop recording. Annette, would you like to share information on the PEC?
This is for the Heart and Soul project. I do have my notes in there, I think. Do I not have notes in there? I don't.
Can't get our draft.
I'm sorry.
Draft.
Some of us can't get our draft to work.
Well, and I don't know if it's an operating system, if it's Explorer, Chrome or whatnot, but it's populating on my end. When I open it up. This
You're
resolution
gonna want
was,
this to be active. This is gonna
This
be
is
an
just
active
a
one, because this
support.
is today's meeting.
right.
This is just to support the
Right.
PEC.
And my only caution on this is that there's language in there that says financially support them.
But it's not defined.
Correct. And that's where I want feedback from you to take back to them. Because I know that the Community Foundation was very instrumental in creating this with PEDC. In fact, they probably gave them the language and they've used this language in other cities, so therefore.
Well, as long as it's, I mean, so my 2 cents. Conceptually, I think we've already said we want to pursue this idea of building a community down in. The city wants to be a supporter, but not the owner and driver of it. And the structure of the project kind of requires somebody to pay attention to it. So it's good that they're doing this, as long as it doesn't bind us to a particular amount of financial support or meeting space. It's very general.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
And I would think we would be supportive. I just don't know what that means.
I think maybe like a mutually agreed upon
Yeah,
partnership or amount.
Yeah.
To kind of just narrow it down, because I just don't like that. willy-nilly.
representation on the Heart and Soul team, yes. Meeting space, yes. Assistance to. Yeah, you know, like all that stuff's easy to do.
But it's the financial. What does that mean?
It says, City of
Financial
Piasta will
support.
provide support to the community Heart and Soul project, including but not limited to financial support, representation on this team, blah, blah, blah. So it's generic. It doesn't list a number or whatever.
I mean,
Right, but I-
do we just put some verbiage in there based on discussions on needs at the time?
How about just mutually agreed upon financial
There you go.
support?
There you go.
Yeah,
I think that just kind of.
Just something.
I like that. Yep.
Yes.
So it has to come back for discussion. You know what we're doing before we look at what the.
Yeah, they can't come back and say, well, you said you were
Yeah,
gonna say.
Said you were gonna give us money.
It's 200 grand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
We want $1 million for the term.
I'm glad that they're moving forward.
Yeah. They're,
Only been 4 months.
Exactly.
we're gonna be happy.
You'll see too on Tuesday night's meeting that they did put in a request for support for an advance of 20,000 for.
So they can hire the project.
Correct,
to
yeah,
do
they
this.
want that and they want $2,500 for the seed money for the 10,000 to match for the Heart and Soul.
Heart and Soul.
Will they come and speak to it?
I asked them, I said,
I'd like to have somebody come and
Yeah,
present it so we can have a dialogue and know what we're.
that was the email back to Spencer. He's the one that sent me the
I don't
document.
just
Megan
want
has to
that.
sign it yet. And I said, we need somebody here.
Yeah,
Let's direct that, and I mean, I can't, because I'm on that email chain, that I can direct Spencer to be
yeah.
the, he's requesting.
Please come and present the
I will-
request and
I will
dialogue with the
request
city
his
council.
presence.
The only thing that I did not like in the request is that they would like $7,500 for just operational expenses.
What operational expenses you got?
What do they have?
Well, here's my thoughts on that. We have pledged $50,000 to them. And that is good till the end of June. You know, I know we want to make them accountable to the last penny. I don't know what $7,500 is going towards. It doesn't go far. If they have things, and again, do we want to get in the minutia with the PEDC as well? That we, you know, require that they say, well, this is to buy stationery and, desk for the person that we hired, or, I mean, I'm want to kind of give them a little bit of room where they can, if they think they need $7,500 and we've pledged to give them $7,500, it's just part of that 50. And when that 50 is gone, then it gets into, you've got to come to us and give us a real good reason.
Okay, that's fine. Again, I. just
That's my
wanna flush this
opinion,
out.
my opinion.
What?
How much do they have left of it?
Well, we've only given
45,000.
5 at this point.
Okay.
So, yeah. So
And
the total
according
that they're requesting is
The-
20
20,
20 total.
right. the original UR amendment that was done in 2020 set aside 50,000 to be dispersed annually. So I mean, we're kind of even breaking our own rules on that, but that's neither here nor there. Again, we're happy that they're doing what they're doing and we want to be very supportive of it. So,
Well, if we have somebody come to present, we can say, well, 7,100 is a pretty exact number. My guess is they modeled something out. Spencer, what's that for? Marketing, this, that?
they have a
We
budget.
think it'll cover 18 months or whatever. It'd be nice to know that.
Well, that's another thing too. When I was at the conference in Sioux City, Pat Callahan had stopped me and said that nobody had contacted him about the goal setting or strategic planning.
Timeline.
Right, and I guess I've shared this concern with a few of you that they've hired Denise Green to come in and help them out. And they've given her kind of strict, because her resume's out there, their goals and their missions and everything for her. But how can she achieve the goals when they don't have any goals or strategy set? So again, I still think it would be money well spent if they did goal setting or strategic planning. And maybe that's something that I could talk to Denise about, and she can maybe.
Maybe she can line that up for
Get it
us.
set up
Right,
for 'em.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Sounds like that's part of the problem is everybody wants on the board
They don't have time to dedicate to.
And I know that
They're
it's like
volunteers.
Stacy said, I mean, they're passionate about it.
They are.
But it's just finding that time and having that one person that's there, that's the go-to person that gets things done. And that maybe that's just a conversation with Denise once she comes forward. Yeah.
All right, I'll get with Spencer and ask him to be at
You
our,
or me?
I will.
Okay,
Cool.
thank you.
Resolution has been updated since it brings the list up to date for stop intersections in Piastri.
We kind of talked about that earlier with the
Good.
stop signs. And I want to thank Dean and Mike. I said, can you get this to me as soon as possible? And literally Mike was in my office a half hour later. And Dean was a little bit slower.
It's busier.
We
Right.
trust
You
you with
wake
this
up and
accuracy.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
Formulating a plan.
Believe it or not, I had that list together
Oh,
probably an hour and a half to 2 hours in advance. It was just a matter of when I
I
got
know.
up there.
and again, it was greatly appreciated. You guys whipped that around really quick.
So you're saying Mike doesn't have a lot to do?
No, he doesn't.
Can I ask an ignorant question? Why do we need a resolution to know where the
That
stop
is a
signs
very
are?
good question.
Why
Because
can't
when we
why
were
can't
talking about this.
city staff and police and city administrator make decisions about where the stop signs go? I'm like, really? Like, how do we even keep that up to date?
So that's the hardest part is it was so far behind. I think I added
Be out of date in a year.
15 stop sign
Yeah.
intersections
Yeah.
at least.
Whatever's in the yellow
why do we need
highlighted
to-
Yeah,
area.
no, the highlighted was the ones that I checked off that were there. The ones that were written below, on that piece of paper I gave you, that was like.
I'm
all
talking
the
about the
extra-
resolution that's adding the
Oh,
stop
sure.
signs. Yeah.
Do we need
I just-
to do that though?
I think we've done it in the past. I think that
See, this is,
Until we change the ordinance.
Until we change the
we
ordinance?
changed the ordinance.
So that's the.
this falls into the
today.
category of repeal the ordinance and delegate to city staff,
Right.
to
So again,
make
when we
these
get
So
to
do we
that,
just slide this one to the top, repeal it tomorrow and?
I don't want to pass a resolution. I want to undo it.
The only thing I have for that is maybe we need to have an ordinance for us to write citations. Let me look into that.
Okay.
You know what I mean? For
Yeah.
us to write local ordinance violations in the city of Piasta, we would need that for that. purpose.
yeah, I don't remember in the code if it said
But let me look.
like state code, because with the
Yeah.
codification,
Right.
it's,
So
okay,
we
yeah,
rewrite.
If there's a
we
state
write
requirement,
local
then.
Right.
Ordinances. So
okay. So you'll take care of that.
I'll look into it.
Alright. Well, then we'll do the resolution.
Check off your
appendix.
list.
Yeah, we'll just, I mean.
We'll do the resolution, but we'll bring the ordinance question back.
Yeah.
We're getting really good at resolutions. Trying to break the last
That's why we're
record.
trying to get rid of it. Oh, wait.
We gotta at least do what, 180 this year?
Let's not. Ordinance amending Title 7 Traffic Code Chapter 71 and Chapter 75, for parking on city-owned property and no parking on the south side of Adriana Drive. As well as yes.
This kind of came about, we're having people park their vehicles up here for sale. They're parking them in
Oh, I
front
got
of,
here.
yeah,
In front of the
the
church.
church on, yeah. So again, it's just,
Parking in front of the church.
you know, if somebody sees somebody doing it, then they just figure it's okay, and it's okay for me to bring my camper up here or my semi.
So we just say no.
Right. At least we can go up to them and have PD and say, there's, you know, can't park here, and they'll say, well, is there an ordinance for it? And it's like,
Yep.
yes, there
There
is.
happens to be.
Yeah.
And they go, oh, it's Piazza, of course there's an ordinance.
All right, so will that conflict with our snow emergency parking?
No.
Okay.
No. We kind of talked about that internally too. I'm still okay with people parking up there. They're not selling their vehicles unless they're pulling them up here, parking them during a snow emergency with a for sale sign in it.
It's a tough traffic there.
Yeah.
Why do we have south side of Adrena? I'm just curious, because right now it's residential, but it will be past the Callahan.
For, are you talking stop sign?
No, it says Adrena Drive on
Because
the
we have
south
no
side of the
parking
road.
on the
has
south side
No
on
parking.
Thunder Valley Drive, so we wanted
Right, yeah,
that
we want to keep it the
consistent.
same consistency on Adrena, same as,
This is really a prep of when we open this road.
correct, when we open that road.
Because the Adrena that's open is like
Yep.
in front of people's houses, so that's
Yep.
what I was.
Whenever that is. A mythical date in the future.
So just, does that affect the homeowners that have,
So
they
that
have
would be,
houses along the part that's open now, between
That
the
would be my
cul-de-sac or the
concern.
park and where it's not open? Those are people's houses and people park in front of them and they're not causing a traffic problem, but this would be new. That would be a change.
So what we can do is,
From,
You can put no parking sign up at
just over by the,
where the barricades are.
where the barricades are going.
Going out,
That was more or less my concern was
yeah, and eventually we have a road.
not necessarily the houses of residents in that area.
So,
Right.
yeah, I'm just concerned about the residents there and.
Yep.
right, because we don't necessarily want them people parking up your street or Leslie.
I'm not aware
having to
though,
cross
they can't really
access
park on
traffic.
the other side because it's, you
Right.
know, there's just a couple of lots and there's people corners lots and so I don't know. Only in their driveways.
Right. No, we'd probably start the signs, like you said, right at the, around the barricade area going east.
So maybe this could say Adrena Drive on the south side of the road in the commercial district areas or something like that.
they're gonna say.
I don't think so, just because as long as there's signs.
I think
Visible?
it's,
You'll do
In that
it by
area?
sign. That's fine.
Ordinance amending Title 9, Chapter 90, Health and Sanitation Nuisances for Open Burning.
Brian brought this to my attention. The code states that
The city
We only-
council was gonna designate weekends that we burn. And I'm like, why does the city council need to dedicate? It's just let the staff decide the weekends that are there. But
I just
That was
cleaned
my
up
thought.
that part of it.
it's another one of those things.
Do we ever dedicate weekends to burn?
We don't.
Okay.
I've not ever had
Could.
council dedicate a weekend.
We'd like to
Yeah.
dedicate a weekend to you.
I'd like to. Do we get requests for that?
Oh.
I mean, this came up because of the question about people being able to burn in the city and we
Oh, does it?
researched.
You know, to be honest, people probably just burn in their backyard of their sticks and twigs throughout the year anyway.
What about cardboard?
Yes, probably.
Tires.
I like
And we haven't had
tires
are bad.
only after
Oil.
dark, so people.
Yeah, it's a little more.
Dark, after dark.
Right.
All right. We're good there.
Delegate.
Amend ordinance 157-35 to include checklist, maybe surveys on new subdivision to address draining issues.
Okay, Steve Thompson helped me find some language. This still needs to be a little not available. I'm going to see if there's somebody else at B and K that can help me put a little bit more specific language in there about the drainage, about surveying. I really want that language in there. My goal is to get this in front of planning and zoning Monday night to have them look at it, because this will be part of the plan review process, and it'll be a requirement when they do make a recommendation that the survey is done. And then I'll have it to you Tuesday night. Fingers crossed. If not, yeah, I do know that the 80 lot subdivision plat, it's been provided. You all have had a chance to look at it, I hope. I haven't got any engineering review notes from Origin at this point. Obviously, I haven't gotten any from B&K. The conversation that Marcy fielded today, it sounds as though they're not gonna really want this reviewed until November. So that means I could still get this in front of planning and zoning Monday night and say, take a look at it. Let me know if there's anything that you want me to revise in there. And then we can get it back to you to get approved in time for that next plat to be finally approved.
Looking at that flash, do we have anything in there about pocket parks? or anything? No, I know we had talked about that at one point.
Yeah, I mean, these are suggestions that we can make to the developer to do that.
We don't have a requirement at this point.
But we don't have a development agreement, so it's a little bit more difficult to do so, but it's worth a suggestion.
Yeah.
He's been doing that lately, anyway.
Pocket parks,
He's got, what is it? The one off of Gingerbread, the new, what did he call that one?
Tegan back there.
He's got 2 lots that were dedicated park areas.
I was just gonna say, just remember that's maintenance for us.
Yeah, it's a city neighborhood versus a homeowner association.
is that something that you want in the subdivision ordinance, that's a requirement? Or not a
Who would
requirement?
be required
Your
to put up,
request?
To put up.
to invest in the park?
Yeah.
I mean, is that us and then we will,
Green space or you just?
Another day,
Yeah.
discussion for.
I think the idea was that, yeah, as the city grows, you're building in some
That's got
green
a lot
space, so
more
you have
questions than
the
just-
ability to put a park in it or something if you want at some point.
The main focus behind this discussion was to make sure that we address the drainage.
Yes,
issue
we're on agreement on that.
right up front, so there's no question about it, and doing the surveying will definitely take care of that.
Let's add
Yeah.
that to November's work session, the pocket park discussion.
Okay.
that we've had.
Yeah, we brought it up.
We brought it up, let's vet it out a little bit.
Like we're requiring, right, new developments have to do a sidewalk, right? So, and it's just like, what else do we want to see in new developments as the city keeps growing? So.
Anything else anybody got? All right, 5 to 6, let's get out of here.
Recording, stop.
Thanks, everybody.
notes.
About session.